Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a legal case that, honestly, feels like it shouldn't be possible. We've got a single judge, a single family, but two completely opposite outcomes on appeal. One ruling was solid as a rock, the other just crumbled to dust. So the question is, how did the same judge get one decision so right and the other so unbelievably wrong?
Okay, let's really get into this paradox. A mother, totally unhappy with the judge's decisions, decides to fight back. She launches two appeals. Now, on the incredibly personal, emotional issue of her children, she loses, flat out. But then, when it comes to the money, she wins. And it's a huge victory. The original decision gets completely thrown out. Same judge, same family. What on earth made one ruling stand and the other one fall apart? To solve this puzzle, we have to meet the people at the very heart of this conflict. Miss Farrick, the mother, and Mr. Farrick, the father. Their separation wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the beginning of a legal battle over the two things that mattered most to them.
And the battle lines were drawn pretty clearly over the two pillars of their future life, their kids and their money. You can see her side. Facing an uncertain future, she wanted sole control over the big decisions for the children, and she felt she needed the vast majority of their assets just to feel secure. And from his perspective, he wanted to stay an equal partner in his kids' lives and argued for what he believed was a more balanced, though still very generous, 70% split of the property.
I mean, that financial gap between them was just huge. The mother was unemployed, she was the primary caregiver for their child, so she asked for up to 85% of everything, plus support. The father, on the other hand, was earning nearly $300,000 a year. You know, the stakes here just couldn't have been higher for both of them.
So in that first round, the trial judge basically sided with the father down the line. He ordered equal shared parental responsibility, and he gave the mother the 70% property split that the father had proposed. Now, you can imagine, for Mrs. Farrick, this was a devastating loss on both fronts, and it's what set the stage for a really dramatic fight in a higher court.
All right, first up, let's look at that parenting appeal. Why was this ruling so incredibly strong? So strong that even an appeals court, looking at this clearly distressed mother, wouldn't even touch it. What made it so legally bulletproof? The mother's case was built on a really simple and, a very human idea. She argued their relationship was just broken, their communication was toxic, and because of that, sharing parental responsibility just felt impossible. She believed that forcing them to co-parent would only create more conflict, and that for the sake of their child, she needed to be the one calling the shots.
And the key to understanding why she lost is this really powerful legal concept, judicial discretion. Think of it like this. It gives the trial judge, the person who actually saw the witnesses and heard all the evidence firsthand, a lot of freedom to make a judgment call, especially in these sensitive parenting cases. It's like a protected zone, and appeal courts are really hesitant to step inside.
So what the appeal court found was that the judge hadn't just ignored the communication problems. No, he acknowledged them, but he had to balance them against other crucial facts. Things like the child's good relationship with the father, and, this is a big one, a neutral expert's advice that giving all the power to one parent could actually create a power imbalance and maybe make things even worse.
And right here is the critical legal lesson. For that parenting appeal to have any chance, the mother had to prove the judge made a mistake in law. It wasn't enough to just say another judge might have decided differently. She had to show his decision was plainly wrong. And that is an incredibly high bar to clear. She couldn't do it, so that ruling stood firm.
Okay, so this makes the property appeal even more baffling, right? If the judge's discretion was so protected in the parenting case, what on earth could have gone so wrong with the money? Well, the answer isn't about judgment, it's about procedure.
See, unlike parenting matters, dividing up property isn't some free-for-all of judicial opinion. In Australia, it has to follow a super strict, mandatory 4-step process. This isn't just a helpful guide, it is the law. And this procedure, well, this is the key that unlocks our entire mystery.
And this is exactly where it all fell apart. The trial judge made a catastrophic mistake right at the very beginning. He failed at step 1, the most fundamental step of all. He didn't correctly identify the total value of everything the couple owned and owed.
It was just a complete procedural breakdown. The judge literally based his entire decision on a flawed list from the father, a list that was missing things like cars, property, and bank accounts. Then he wrongly claimed that the mother had agreed to this incomplete list. And to top it all off, his final judgment didn't even bother to explain how he landed on that 70-30 split. The whole thing was built on a foundation of sand. But here it is, the biggest twist in this entire story, the moment that changes absolutely everything. Before the appeal even really got going, the father, the person who won in the first court, admitted the judge got it wrong. In a truly stunning move, he conceded that the ruling was so flawed that it was actually a miscarriage of justice.
Wow. So with the father himself saying the decision was wrong, the outcome was, inevitable. The battle was over. So let's look at the final verdict and, more importantly, what this strange case can teach all of us.
So, the mystery is solved. The parenting appeal failed because it was a challenge to the judge's reasonable judgment, his discretion. But the property appeal succeeded because it exposed undeniable, black-and-white errors in legal procedure. One ruling was about opinion, the other was about following the rules.
So what are the big takeaways here for you? First, an appeal isn't a second chance to tell your story. It has to be a surgical strike on a specific legal error. Second, procedure is power. Even judges have a rule book they must follow, and a mistake at step 1 can bring the whole house down. It also shows that sometimes admitting an obvious error is the smartest, most strategic move. And finally, judges have to show their work. An unexplained ruling is a flawed one, period.
Ultimately, this case isn't just about one family's painful fight. It is a powerful reminder that in the world of law, the process, how you get to a decision, is every bit as important as the result itself. A judgment built on a flawed procedure, no matter who it comes from, simply isn't justice at all.